News every 15 minutes, weather every 10, and sports twice an hour.
Newstalk, KGVO, AM 1290 and 101.5 FM.
You're listening to Montana Morning with Peter Christian.
Missoula police foil a possible strangulation. Good morning, everyone. It's Montana Morning. Here it is Thursday, August 25th, 2016. We have a partly cloudy sky. It's dark. Yeah, I could just barely make out the outlines of the mountains out there right now. The sun's coming up later every morning. We have 46 degrees in Missoula right now. Our newscast this morning, sponsored by Office City, celebrating 100 years in business. See them for office supplies and furniture, price match guarantees, and free next-day delivery. At about 10:30 Tuesday night, Missoula police responded to a call from the 100 block of Grandview, where police witnessed a crime in progress. Public Information Officer Travis Welsh explains.
On their arrival, they spoke to a neighbor who actually was the one who called, and called based on what she heard coming from a neighbor's apartment. The officers, when they were knocking on the door, they heard somebody crying inside, and later learned after they'd made entry that it was the female involved.
The man involved in the incident has been convicted in at least 2 previous partner or family member assaults.
The officers made entry into the apartment where the disturbance seemed to originate and discovered a male and female. The male was actually holding a female down on the floor. He was quickly taken into custody with that incident and identified as 32-year-old Kenneth Adams. He's been arrested for aggravated assault and third offense, partner or family assault, also a felony.
Police say the woman who was pinned to the floor claimed that during the altercation, Adams tried to strangle her. Missoula County Sheriff's deputies responded to a disturbance call around 11:30 on Wednesday morning at a campground near Highway 93. Public Information Officer Brenda Bassett explains.
Inside of a camper, there were 2 males and a female, and a verbal altercation became physical, and at one point it was reported that the suspect allegedly pulled a knife and cut the other individual, who was a male, on the face. He was transported to the hospital for some minor injuries, non-life-threatening.
According to Bassett, law enforcement led a widespread manhunt for the suspect.
We had several deputies and Forest Service officers that were helping us in this search for the individual, but in the end he actually ended up contacting us, and we were able to meet up with him at a gas station, but he was taken into custody and will be booked at the detention facility.
Bassett said the disturbance began Tuesday night, but the investigation is still ongoing. A Republican gubernatorial candidate, Greg Gianforte, says he would sell a state-owned airplane used by the governor if he's elected and spend the savings to expand computer science in high schools. Gianforte spoke during a news conference in Helena yesterday. He says Democratic Governor Steve Bullock has misused the plane by flying to campaign events and to a 2014 Paul McCartney concert, as we reported here on KGVO News. Gianforte was backed by Republican State Representatives Ryan Osmundson and Representative Brad Sheeta. They plan to introduce a bill to prohibit the use of the plane for campaigning. Bullock has said campaign activities are secondary events to trips made for official business. He has reimbursed the state for time the pilots spent waiting while he attended those events. Bullock was in Deer Lodge Wednesday. Spokeswoman Ronja Abel said he took the plane. A 23-year-old Missoula man, Jonathan Lamphere, was in Justice Court Wednesday to face charges that he allegedly assaulted a 9-year-old girl in July of 2015. According to court documents, Lamphere tied her hands to her ankles with rope, then blindfolded her. He then carried the victim into a bedroom where he ordered her to stick out her tongue. The victim described that he put, quote, gross things, and, quote, on her tongue. Deputy County Attorney Brian Lowney has more.
Eventually tied the victim up and took her to his room tied up, placed some things in her mouth, including candle wax and baby soap, and then lastly put his finger in the victim's throat.
Lowney further detailed the alleged assault.
The victim reported that it hurt, that being tied up hurt, and then the things Mr. Lamphere put in her mouth hurt, and so he's charged with assault on a minor. I should add that during the time that he put things in her mouth in his room, she was blindfolded as well.
Judge Marie Anderson set bail at $20,000. Lamphere's next court appearance will be September 7th. Hilton Garden Inn and the hotel's management company have settled a lawsuit alleging the hotel chain failed to give its servers their tip money. The Billings Gazette reports that the Hilton and the Gateway Hospitality Group agreed to pay $4 million in lost wages and penalties after it was found that Hilton hotels at Billings, Bozeman, Kalispell, and here in Missoula were keeping a service fee. About 550 people will receive compensation from the lawsuit, with checks for lost wages ranging from $7 to $86,000. According to the lawsuit, when Hilton ran the banquet service, a 15 to 18% service fee was paid to service, but once management changed and Gateway operated the service, that 18 to 20% fee did not make it to the staff. Students heading back to Lolo Public Schools won't have a full-time nurse anymore now that an anonymous grant that funded the position for the last 4 years has expired. Lolo Public Schools District 7 Superintendent Mike Magone explains.
We ran a levy this last spring, which included the funding for the nurse position. The levy narrowly failed, and so as a result, we've trimmed away to fit at least a part-time nurse into our employment lineup and services so that we can at least provide for those critical, real serious and important medical conditions.
According to Magone, even the part-time nurse position will be difficult to finance.
It's a bit tricky because it's really hard to get rid of anything at this point because we're kind of down to the basic needs. We're hoping for a light winter and lower utility bills so that there may be some funds left over there, depending on where we are in other budget categories. Hopefully pinch things together to be able to fund that position.
Magone says if a student is in need of serious medical attention and the nurse is not available, parents will be called to pick up their child to provide treatment. In case of an emergency, 911 will be called. And the Iowa Utilities Board has ordered a Texas company to refrain from building a pipeline on 15 landowners' properties until Monday to give the board time to review legal issues involving a lawsuit. The board issued an order Wednesday requiring Dakota Access to provide detailed information about the progress of construction in Iowa and the costs the company will incur if it's required to work around the parcels. The landowners' lawsuit challenges the board's authority to allow eminent domain for a privately owned pipeline project. That suit has not come before court yet, and the board will hear arguments today on the landowners' motion to halt construction until that happens, the $3.8 billion pipeline will pass through Iowa, Illinois, North Dakota, and South Dakota, and has been met with weeks of protests in North Dakota. Our News Talk time is 6:12.
News Talk, KGVO.
Missoula's official weather station.
Mostly sunny skies today and comfortable with high temperatures in the mid-70s. Partly cloudy tonight and cool with lows in the low 40s. Warmer temperatures are expected Friday through the weekend with highs warming into the mid-80s. I'm meteorologist Brooke Foster, KECI 13.